Hey there guys, we're going to be going to the Creeping Malice EXT fight. Some of you have asked me to show a way to do this fight. I kind of overlooked it because, on day one I went in there and just OTK'd it on turn one with an overpowered team. Then I kind of forgot about it, but you guys reminded me in the comments I never did a video about this fight. So we're going to go ahead and do it. So the missions are no items, no KOs, and 7 turns or less. The boss is a demon aquatic, only weak to lightning, and it does things like berserk during the ambush, etc. It's overall not too big of a fight, but it does ambush you, which causes some problems for some people. You can bring a friend. I'm not going to. I'm just going to use my own team with all cheap gear, etc. But definitely bring a friend. Now, for example, some really good options to just blow this up is like Chizuru or Esther, etc. These can kill it literally on turn one. But we're going to go for a slower clear just to show you the mechanics in case you don't have an overpowered friend to carry you or don't have your own powerful units. And I'll show the gear in a moment. So during the ambush, there's going to be an ice and water magic attack, but we're going to preemptively cover it with Shoreline Fina and Daisy using ice and water resist. There's also a single target unprovocable berserk. It apparently went on our Elena. If the berserk goes on our tank, I guess just retreat and come back in, because we don't want the tank berserked. But we auto-broke from the Obsidian Bracer, so even if your breaker gets berserked on turn one, the Obsidian Bracer will have breaks up for you anyway, so you should be fine. So we did lose our NVA Elena on turn one. That's okay. So we're going to use Shoreline Fina and Daisy to cover and mitigate. We're going to use Cacteria to put up Cactus Break, and then Thorny Teamwork, and then doesn't really matter what else. I guess we'll do a big Spirit buff. Our 7-star Sylvie is going to do Marion Watch Over Me. We're going to do Break Immunity, and we're going to do Status Immunity. And then Starlight Elena is going to do Polaris, Stella Marie, and we're not going to use the EX3 skill because yours may not be EX3. So we're going to never use Celestial Brilliance, although if yours is EX3, absolutely use this. But this is a big Demon Killer buff, but we're not going to use that. So we'll just do, I guess, Revitalizing Strike. And the Polaris removed the boss's attack and magic buff. It's a perfect dispel. You don't have to do that because most of the damage is going to be immune anyway, but it's an option. So there you go. So here's some attacks. Very minor damage. The Berserk is now worn off, so we're going to use Sylvie to triple. We're going to imbue Thunder to the party. We're going to amplify Thunder to our Starlight Elena because she's going to be carrying the fight. And we're going to hop into battle on Starlight Elena. Now, regular Elena is going to Sword in Peril, and then double Blade of Salvation. And then Starlight Elena is going to just, whoop. We're going to do double Gemini and Star Supernova. Now, the boss does have permanent magic mitigation, and because we're using a hybrid unit, we're going to take a big damage penalty because half the damage is going to be mitigated away because half the damage is magical. Again, this is intentionally done by me to slow down the fight. I don't want to OTK it or anything, because then, that wouldn't help anyone that can't OTK it. So, again, we're using a intentionally bad DPS option here. Definitely would rather use someone better, like Esther, Chizuru, that kind of stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and chain and do our damage right here. I forgot to do our big break beforehand with Cacteria. So that was my mistake. I should have done the 89% breaks. We'll do them next turn. Oh well. We'll just go ahead and shell and protect with Cacteria, and Shoreline Fina and Daisy can do Lagoon Shell, and I guess we'll do Healing Ripples from Mana Regen. Okay. Some more attacks. We're using ice and water resist, so the damage is basically irrelevant. Now let's have Cacteria do a bigger magic defense and Spirit Break. I forgot to do that earlier, was my bad. Let's go ahead and just triple Salvation here. You know what? I did the wrong one. That was the Sword in Peril. That was my mistake. Whoopsie. Well, we didn't have Sword in Peril, but now we do. Let's go ahead and chain it up and deal some damage. Now that I actually put the Sword in Peril up, we're doing a little bit better damage, so there we go. Shoreline Fina and Daisy, we can just do like her splash skill. It really does not much that matters. We're just kind of like clicking things because we got to click something. So there we go. Most of this is whatever. We're just chaining it down. And again, here's some more magic damage from the boss. Really the hardest part here is the ambush attack. You know, resist, no big deal. The boss, he doesn't really buffer anything. I guess Cacteria can do, we can do a bigger this break. I mean, we're literally, like I said, we're just clicking things just to get the boss dead. And we will Blade of Salvation a few more times. Sylvie, I don't know how long her imbue lasts, so we'll like just do spring cleaning. Let's go ahead and re-imbue. And let's hop to the rescue on Marilena. Whatever. Keep chaining it up. You know, damage has definitely increased now that I remembered to do the proper sword in peril. Okay, not quite yet. That's okay. Let's go ahead and put up cover again and splash fight for more mitigations. You know, as long as you're using a magical tank with water and ice resist, it's pretty fine. So here's a fixed damage attack that does bypass cover. We had some mitigation from Phasey, so it was kind of whatever. And we can go ahead and finish this fight off. And there is our 7 turns or less with all missions using some janky DPS and whatever. And I'll show you the gear in just a moment. But, you know, there it is. Mindflayer Obscura handled. And if we had brought, like, you know, a properly built friend Esther, this would have been over on turn 2. Or if we had brought a properly built Chizuru friend, it would have been over on turn 1. And, of course, the Elena carries. And again, I never used her her EX3 buff, so that is totally doable with EX2 or even EX1. EX1 is definitely less damage, but as long as you're using her intrinsic, it's fine. But again, just use a better DPS, you're fine. Okay, so the gear we use is very, very cheap. We have Phasey on a Resist Esper, and then some Killer Espers on our DPS. So the gear is, again, very, very cheap. No STMRs. Passive Provoke with the Moogle Charm. Status Immunity with the Hairpin of Purity. We've got 200 or better to Ice and Water Resist so that the ambush doesn't really bother us. Just some generic bulk and resist materia. A generic card. And I'm pretty sure we took 0 damage the entire fight other than the fixed attack. So as long as you've got high ice and water resist, you don't even need bulk. Like, we probably could have done this with, like, a 7-star tank. Well, 7-star tanks can't preemptively cover. So preemptively covering units are Shoreline Fina and Daisy, Triumphant General Celeste, Dynast King Ash, Maeve, if you start her in the shift form, Chow, maybe more, but yeah, a preemptive cover tank lets you ignore resist on the rest of the party. Or you can give the entire party, like, guts or something, but that makes it a little bit harder. Cacteria is just using Obsidian Bracer. That way, in case she got berserked on turn 1, it would have been auto-broken. Other than that, like, literally whatever, who cares? She is just here for breaks. Sylvie, this is the 7-star Sylvie. She's just here for thunder support. So if you're using someone like Esther, you don't even need her. But again, just generic whatever gear. I gave her some mana regen because, you know, she's a 7-star. But yeah. Awakened Elena, the 7-star, again, very, very cheap gear, no STMRs, we just tossed on some whatever stuff, I mean her own STMR, of course. And then a free card, which was given for free like a week ago. And yeah, just, you know, a little bit of killers versus Aqua and Demon. We're at 200 and 250, so there we go. And then our Starlight Elena. We're going with, again, a budget build, no STMRs. I am using Clash of Wills gear, so, you know, it's technically free, even though, you know, everyone might not have it. But whatever, if your Elena's a little bit weaker, it's totally fine. You take an extra turn. We are dual wielding because the double hand build is obviously very hard to build. Dual wield is a little bit easier. And then here's her gear. Again, all free gear. Her intrinsic ability and a free vision card. And her killers were 250 aquatic, 300 demon, and we never used her EX3 skills to specifically show that it's easier to do it, or it's easy to do it with this clear. And then we didn't take a friend, so the 6th unit could be either another DPS or someone to buff killers. Speaking of killers, if this Elena had not been berserked on turn 1, we would have used her shift form to... Oh, actually, she can only do that in Clash of Wills. Never. I was going to say we were going to do her killer buff, but I forgot that's a morale-only skill. So never mind, ignore that. Anyway, there's the Mind Flayer fight, as requested. budget run, super easy. See you next time.